Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 3. This week, we are going to focus on nonviolent communication. So before we start, you'll see that I'm sitting in a different place, and today I'm in my office on Widener's campus. I wanted to start by coming to the announcements first. I did posted an announcement that clarifies some of the elements from the week 1 process note. I have a whole separate video for week 3 because in week 3 there are a couple of additional elements that you need to add to the process note. And you want to think about that before you meet in your group so that you know what you're looking for. Okay? So let's go here to the modules. And we're going to go down here to number 3. These weeks go by really fast. Okay, so here we have this. I feel like this should be up. Sorry, station identification break. There we go, that's a little bit better. Okay, so the video that I'm making for you right now will be here, in here. And then this video is a video that goes through the requirements for the process note for week 3. You might be thinking, oh, I can just read it. Well, yeah, you probably can just read it. But I just happen to know that there's a few areas that confuse students, and so I try to highlight what those are. The same thing in the announcement. All right, so let's move into what's happening this week. Excuse me. And we are focusing on Marshall Rosenberg's work. He has worked all over the world on promoting nonviolent communication. And he does it in a pretty interesting way, a way that would, I think it either gets your attention, kind of takes it outside of himself. You'll see. So you're going to watch the video, and then there's a discussion about that. There is also something to read. When you go into the discussion, you are not reflecting on the reading. You are reflecting on the actual video. Okay, so let's get to that. Here is the reading from Marshall Rosenberg. That's just to back up some of the ideas that he talks about. But here is the actual video. And you might be going, oh no, it's 3 hours long. Well, you don't have to watch it all at one time. You can, watch a bit of it and then turn it off and go do something, come back, watch more of it. You do want to watch the whole thing because it's really important to understanding how to communicate with people when you are a clinical social worker. Now, this is also a no guilt or shame week. So there are ideas that Marshall will present to you, and you might go, well, I don't do that. I do these other things that he talks about that might not be all that helpful to other people or even myself. So when we learn something, the goal is not to go back and regret everything that we did before. It's now an opportunity to move on with new information that we can practice. So if we fall down on the job about something, it would be to learn this and then not think about using it. Okay? All right. So this week you start working in your small group, and I encourage you to use Zoom because your presentation will be in Zoom. So you need to work out the kinks and the quirks of whatever happens in that system. Different people have different computers, which might affect how it actually works, okay? Here is the discussion. So after watching the video, you're going to come here and talk about what's your reaction to this whole idea of using nonviolent communication. in your life and in practice. So, what obstacles do you think you would face? And how do you think you could overcome those obstacles? And you're going to specifically reference the video. And so if you're going to reference the video, really all you're going to do is Marshall Rosenberg, or Rosenberg, comma M, period. If there's a date on the video, fine. If not, then put N period, D period, and parentheses around that. That means no date. And then Marshall Rosenberg's Nonviolent Communication Workshop video. That's not how a video is ordinarily referenced. And for the citation, you would use Rosenberg and then the date or ND, okay, for the citation. You're going to find a person who hasn't had a response yet and respond to one person. Tell them what you've learned from their post and anything you might add to their learning. We need to practice giving feedback to people and talking to people about, I was thinking this, but I heard you say that. I'm not sure I agree with that. I was thinking this instead. What do you think? Okay? Use nonviolent communication. I do. It's been integrated into everything I do. I don't think about it anymore. I just do it. Although my husband might disagree with you sometimes. Sometimes I slip. We all slip up, right? Okay, so you're going to make one response. Okay, next up. All right, so in your small group, when you meet this week, you want to, again, make sure that you are talking about who's in the leadership position, because there are questions on the process note about that. You want to talk about trying out different roles in the group. So maybe you're somebody who talks all the time. Maybe you try out being quiet. Maybe you're somebody who's quiet and you try out being more vocal. Maybe you're not usually the leader, but you'd like to be the leader, so you try that out. Okay? Here, oh my goodness, okay. Okay, so what I see in my course are groups 1, 2, and group 3. If you don't remember which group you're in, then you need to go to the announcements, and there is an announcement posted there. You could go back to people and see what group you're in by going to people. You might automatically be in your group. You don't have to choose a group when you come into this discussion. So group 1 will just see this, and that's just for group 1. So nobody will see what you post except for me. So this week when you meet with your group, you are going to talk about using nonviolent communication. And you will practice an interaction using nonviolent communication tools to think about a conflict, and then practice using nonviolent communication to handle that situation. The other two groups, or maybe you have 3 people, the other 2 people or the other 3 people in your group will coach and respond to the role play. That's what you're going to practice. Something else to think about. So when you're in your small group, you're probably already talking about what you are going to do for your small group presentation. And I will ask you to go to the video that I made for you. Hold on just a second. I'll be right back. There's always work. Competing forces. If I haven't mentioned to you about competing forces, you probably are already thinking about that. Home and work and, all the things that you have to do. And then things come up when you least expect them. All right. So when you're thinking about your presentation, please watch the video that I made for you. Remember that your presentation is focused on conflict resolution. So we are providing you with 3 conflict resolution tools. This week, nonviolent communication. Next week, talking paper. The week after that, finding common ground. So before you select the approach that you're going to use, maybe you want to check out those, because one of the reasons why we present them in the course is for you to have a chance to use them. Okay? All right, let's go to the last thing that we have here, and that is your process note. So remember that I made you a video for week 3. I'll just highlight a couple of things that are different here. One is the relationship to content. So in your dyad content and process discussion, this is the content, your response and dyad effect or process, and then you are writing from, you don't have to talk about, you could talk about it with your dyad partner, but this could also be your perspective. So you watched the video about nonviolent communication. So describe how your dyad interaction helped you to solidify learning about nonviolent communication this week. Okay. I mentioned that you want to separate these questions so that it's clear where you're answering your questions, which might mean maybe 3/4 of a page because you're adding 3 sentences. So what validated you and in what way? Reflect on yourself in the large group. What did you contribute to the large group? And finally, how did the peer responses to your post affect you? This is the last section so they're still reading, and you'll notice that you have reading from week 2 and week 3 to reflect on. Morrison from week 2, Rosenberg from week 3. This whole section about the small group process is new to the process note for you. And you'll see that it asks specific questions. That's why you want to watch the video, because I talked to you about how to answer these questions. Okay? If you have questions for me, please feel free to ask me. I'm happy to answer them. Okay? Thank you. See you in the course. Bye.